There are 10 new ministers and 10 new deputy ministers. The finance ministry has seen both the minister and the deputy minister replaced, while energy, transport, police, public works, sport, tourism and communications all have new political heads. The business sector is concerned, especially when it comes to national treasury.
I think it exacerbates uncertainty in our country. It erodes confidence that the political instability that rating agencies have been talking to us about and raised as a concern. We are actually telling rating agencies, yes, we are politically unstable, and that can't be good for the country.
To sort of interpret the implication for Treasury, I think it's fairly clear that Zuma has got his hands on the purse strings.
The broader implications of the move should also be considered.
This is not only going to affect our rand, which has already declined, it is also going to affect our interest rates. Investors are going to become scarcer for South Africa. Jobs are going to become a problem. The political uncertainty just increases with this.
Others suggest that the president learned some valuable lessons from his 2015 experience with the Minister Nene and the collapse of the currency and negative market reaction then.
Long term, probably some considerable implications for the country, this move. But in the short and medium term, the next 2 to 3 years, if you had a plan and strategy for South Africa yesterday, there's no reason to change that plan or strategy today.
But does this move bring to an end a productive relationship between government and business, who for the past 15 months have been working to restore investor confidence?
Obviously, we are in a stage at the moment where we're all extremely concerned. But we've got to put national interest on the agenda, and national interest tells us that we've got to build this country so that all its inhabitants can benefit from its growth. And we will continue to do that, and we will interact with government to do that.
But it does appear that there's a groundswell of activism building.
If ever there were a moment that marks a time in a country's life where there is a call to action, I think now is that moment.
The reshuffle, and specifically the sacking of the Minister and the Deputy Minister of Finance, has been described by many as a bizarre and difficult to understand action, particularly as the country's credit rating is at risk now and investor confidence is depressed. I'm Angelo Coppola for CGTN in Johannesburg, South Africa.
Now let's get more on what's going on ground. Angelo Coppola now joins us in Johannesburg. Angelo, welcome to the show. Now, looking at the fallout from last night's cabinet reshuffle, we saw the rand down over 3%. On the JSE, we saw about $6 billion off the banking sector market cap wiped out this morning. Now, how have markets reacted today, Angelo?
Well, there is a bit of a silver lining, or should I say a golden lining. The gold miners and the resources sector were up nicely because of that weaker dollar. Financials did take a smack. The financial 15 was down some 3.6%, and the banking stocks also lost around 6% of their value. This due to concerns that following the reshuffle, the likelihood of a credit rating downgrade has increased. Because if the sovereign is downgraded to sub-investment level, the country's banks will automatically be downgraded. In terms of the other indices, many of the stocks on the JSE have a lower exposure to South African markets and thus are less susceptible to those local vagaries that we see. So it appears that traders and institutional investors are concerned and are pricing in a potential downgrade either in June or later in the year.
Now, Angelo, of course this was expected, but in the long term, how does the market feel about the new finance minister, Malusi Gigaba? Is he expected to maintain Pravin Gordhan's strategy in terms of policy direction and the economy?
Well, I don't think the markets have formed an opinion about Gigaba as finance minister just yet, although they probably may have interacted or observed him in public enterprises or in home affairs, his most recent portfolio, because of course it's only day one. But Gordhan, on the other hand, was quick to point out at his final press conference that it's unlikely that Gigaba will touch economic, fiscal or monetary policy because this is government policy and that appears to still be in place. So there is confidence that the economic policy will remain in place as stated at least until the policy congress that happens in June and at the end of the year.
Now, big concern for investors about this cabinet reshuffle is, of course, how state spending will change going forward. Could South Africa see more money flowing to President Zuma's projects?
Well, state spending really is theoretically controlled by various policies and regulations. It's also monitored by the Auditor General. And when necessary, National Treasury steps in to give approval or to take approval away for certain types of capex spend. So there are some controls there. Some would argue that Gigaba in place now means that the purse strings may be loosened, but the technocrats are still there. Those are the people that do all the work on the ground. They're not the political heads, they're the operators. So if they're still in place, it's going to ensure that their proper procedures are going to be followed. And ultimately, though, the taxpayers and voters will soon find out if there has been any political interference in any of those National Treasury operations, and they'll probably vote with their feet, Uche.
Well, many thanks, Angelo, for those insights. Angelo Coppola, of course, on the ground there in Johannesburg.